Welcome back to the show. Many thanks for staying with us. Well, if you have a relative, like I said, or someone you know, anybody who has been taken in by the police and they were supposed to be kept for 48 hours, and those 48 hours were calculated without taking into consideration a weekend or a holiday. Well, that is about to change, supposed to change after a court ruled. In fact, that ruling was delivered by the former Chief Justice herself, that henceforth, if you say 48 hours, it means 48 hours. Therefore, police take people in, and it's for 48 hours. It includes all days, weekends, holidays inclusive. Martin Kpebu is the person who took the case to court. He's joining me here in the studio for our grand discussion today. We'll be joined also by Mr. Dindio Pemka for this conversation. Like I said, I want to hear from you. What are your experiences? Mr. Kpebu, you're welcome.
Thank you, Gifty.
It's good to have you.
My pleasure.
And in these COVID-19 times, unfortunately, I can't see your lips, but that's okay.
That's all right.
So hopefully, if there are questions that come along from our viewers, you can take that as well. Okay. And Mr. Pemka will also join us in. But I'd like to take you back memory lane. It's not been too long, December. So looking back, I just want you to refresh your memory. How did it feel back then, before you went into the court and after?
Well, I think this one, it wasn't as tense as you ordinarily expect, because it was the validatory judgment of the CJ. And so what we did was that myself and my friends, we looked at it and said, for the Chief Justice to choose this case for her validatory judgment, it's likely to go in favor of the Ghana as a state. I mean, that is to say, we are going to get the 48 hours to include the weekends. Because I looked at it odd that the last thing she would want to do is to call a case and then throw it out and say this lawyer has brought a bad case to this court and we are throwing it out. Do you see it? Yeah. And so based upon the one and one we put together, we guessed right that we're going to win. So all I mean is that the tension wasn't as much as, let's say, the non-bailable or the
But one and one, you've only given me one, because just because it's a validatory ruling doesn't necessarily mean it will go in your favor.
Yeah, that's what I said. But looking at if the past experience is anything to go by, yeah, it points to a victory. Because that's why I said it's odd that the last judgment would be a judgment that she would take and then, you know, bash the lawyer, you brought a bad case, you've wasted everybody's time. No, that's not it. So rather, it looked the other way. And
a lot of people hailed this decision. Everybody thought that this was a good decision. What triggered it, by the way? Was there a particular situation you encountered as a lawyer that pushed you into taking this matter up?
Yes. Countless. So in times like this, then you don't even know which one to cite as an example.
Okay,
so
give us the most recent.
Yeah, so I mean, it was just the norm. It's something that had worried us so much at the bar, okay, that look, somebody is deliberately taken in on a Friday afternoon, and knowing very well that Saturday no court would open, Sunday no court, and then I mean, it's even worse when Monday is a public holiday. You remember recently we had the Eid holiday on Monday. So can you imagine?
So if you're taking in on Friday, Saturday is out.
Sunday, Monday. So 4 invariably we're taking on a Friday. So those were some of the experiences. So I kept kind of nagging. Then one day I found the strength to write out a suit, and then I filed it.
What was your most outstanding argument that you believe that you believe did the trick in the eyes of the judge?
Let's start it this way. It's the Supreme Court. The Constitution is there to interpret. So I remember in Kpebu number 2, the non-bailable decision, former CJ Wood, you know, she did brilliant in that case. She, I mean, was CJ at the time they did the non-bailable decision. In her judgment, she wrote that, look, it's not the strength of counsel's argument per se. So the point I'm making is that sometimes you may not have the best argument, the best submission, but it's clear that there's an injustice, the court will rise to help you. So for me, I think that more credit should be given to the justices of the Supreme Court. Okay. They've shown that really they are there to serve the ordinary man. Yeah, because you see that it didn't just start with this 48 hours. There's a trilogy of cases. You see, cases that had worried that it started with the sureties case. Those days, if you stood surety for somebody who was granted bail and that person absconded, you would be arrested. Yeah. And then you could go to jail for 6 months.
How has that changed?
Yeah, so that was the first one I took to court, and the court struck it out in December 2015. Then the non-bailable offenses came. That was Pebu number 2. That was in May 2016. And then this one. In between, there was another one about discoveries, okay? Before a criminal case starts, those days the prosecution will hide the evidence and then they take out the pieces one after the other. In court. So we fought and fought it for 2 years, and then finally Bafu Boni, this case that ended recently. They also, when they were fighting their case in the High Court, then they heard mine had been pending for 2 years. So everybody had lost patience. So they also applied. So it joined my disclosure case in the Supreme Court. Then the court said, oh, Mr. Kwebu, this Bafuboni case looks like yours, so I think you should stand aside so that we would give decision. So at least the 2 cases are similar. So the point I'm making is that the Supreme Court has shown, in terms of human rights, in the last 4 years, it's been electrifying, electrifying to say the least.
Electrifying.
Okay. Yes,
I like the word.
Yeah, they've done so well. Extremely.
Right. Yeah. I've also been joining the conversation is ASP Sylvester Sawe. He's in charge of legal and prosecutions at the police CID. ASP Sylvester, thank you for your time this afternoon. Hello, sir.
Hello.
Thank you very much for your time this afternoon.
You are welcome, my sister.
Okay, so I'd like to take your preliminary thoughts. 48 hours means 48 hours. That's a good ruling, right? Even from the perspective of the police. I mean, the people who keep the suspects over those hours. It's good news for you, isn't it, as well?
Yes, thank you very much, my sister, and thank you for having me. Exactly, it's a good news for us, and as law enforcement officers, and for that matter, police, we welcome the decision. That decision came at the right time, and we also welcome it in good faith. We have no challenge with it because already, as per the Constitution, we are required to work 24 hours, so which includes Saturday and Sunday, and police will work Saturday and Sunday. So talking about this decision is a practice that police are already practicing, but maybe for want of better word, the Supreme Court must come out to clarify it. So we say welcome the decision in good faith.
It's interesting that you indicate that police are already doing. This is something that police are already doing. Really?
Exactly, because it's obvious and it's right that police work 24/7, which includes even public holidays. All our doors are open to the public.
But when you take people in, okay, please go ahead. Sorry.
When it comes to 48 hours, we do everything in accordance with what the Constitution says, that 48 hours to us, 48 hours meant 48 hours to us, nothing more, nothing less, which suggests that if a suspect is in our custody over the weekends and there's a reasonable grounds to release the suspect on bail, either conditionally or conditionally, the suspect shall go on bail depending on the circumstances and the nature of the accusation.
Mr. Kwebu, I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. I mean, for him, it institutionalizes it. But even before the institutionalization, this is something that police already does. If they feel that there is reasonable grounds for bail, they won't unnecessarily keep you over a weekend or a holiday. Is that representative of what you know from your clients?
Not exactly. You see, one thing we can agree is that yes, there were cases that the police would grant bail, or let me say there are cases that the police would exercise their discretion to grant bail. Okay, yes. But what we found was that those ones that they didn't were equally substantial. And it was such a big problem. Yes, it really was.
Okay.
So it's a question of maybe ASP Asare is seeing the glass as half full. He doesn't want to say it is
half empty.
So
okay.
it's perspective.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll start this conversation as we wait on the Deputy Attorney General to also join in. There were a couple of things that were listed that ought to happen for this case to for this institutionalization to take place. Yeah. It says here, the Chief Justice must within 6 months of his judgment designate each metropolitan municipal or MMDC to sit on public holidays, weekends and periods of civil unrest, where the safety of judge, magistrate, court, etc., to determine issues pertaining to personal liberty. Is that also something that's already happening, sitting on public holidays and weekends? It's not happening at the moment.
No.
Okay.
Except there's this one, there's a court for SNET cases and electricity cases.
Okay.
So those courts sit on Saturdays.
Okay.
So cases where an employer has failed to pay SNET, the SNET contributions and his own part as required by the National Pensions Act, then he'll be hauled before the SNET court.
All right.
And then also those who steal electricity.
Oh,
those are on Saturdays.
But even that, it's just on Saturdays. Yes. The weekend includes Saturdays and Sundays.
And okay. Public holidays.
Okay. So we still need this institutionalization to take place. There is also the part that says, it goes on to say, during periods of legal strike, etc., it goes on and on. It says, holding of proceedings in the chambers or residence of judges, magistrates, etc., as may be necessary under the circumstances. So it is urging the judiciary to ensure a system where cases can be held at the residence of judges and magistrates.
Yes.
Is that realistic?
Yes, I understand. We had it in the past. Senior Opon, Daniel Opon. Okay. He was told by an older judge that, oh, this way you guys have brought back, it's not new. When they were younger, that used to be the norm. I understand it was the murder of the judges that contributed to the three judges, you know, the matters of the rule of law. I understand it was their murder that helped to stop that practice. So we've just done Sankofa, we've gone back.
I see.
Yes, there are a lot of things you see today. We did them over 100 years ago. I remember I was telling you about the way police would keep the evidence. Yeah, in 1876, that was when we started practicing it, where you give the accused everything. Then around 1960, we cancelled it. Then 2018, we returned.
Okay. And hopefully we'll be able to get that institutionalized. Let me bring you in ASP Asare. There's a part that talks about what the police must do. It says the Inspector General of Police must within 6 months ensure that police prosecutors and investigators are duly sensitized to 1, operationalize the article of the Constitution, and then there are 3 others. Let's start with these things. The first one, sensitization so that the service operationalizes this article. I want to find out, next month is the end of the 6 months. What is being done within the police service to institutionalize this? It looks like your microphone is mute. Okay. All right, let's try and get him to fix that microphone issue. But, Mr. Kwebu, then there's also the part that says the director, well, it talks about overpay, over time. I don't know why I'm just slipping on my words. Yes. Today. So the Judicial Secretary must, within 6 months, make necessary arrangements and provisions for the determination of rates for overtime work and payments of same to the judges and the magistrates who will be affected in accordance with the law. Additional payment. Do you get the sense after your interactions throughout the period that we have the judiciary has the budget to support this request?
Oh, I think so, because it's a constitutional imperative. I know even also under the Constitution, to guarantee their independence, usually it's made in such a way that the government doesn't unduly interfere in the budget estimates that they prepare. So for me, it doesn't appear the cost will be too much of a challenge to bear.
But then what recommendation will you have to make it even more effective?
So one thing is clear, that it's not going to be every court that's going to sit on a Saturday, Sunday, public holidays. No. So it depends. So look at something like this. You know, as we referred to earlier, there are courts that are already sitting on Saturdays, but for SNIT and electricity cases.
Yeah.
So what I envisage is that some of those judges will be asked to take on extra cases. That's to say the bail applications for those who have been kept in custody that the police don't want to release within the 48 hours. You see, so all over the country, all those courts that are already sitting, we are going to piggy ride, sort of, you see it. Yeah, so that's going to reduce the cost, okay, because the judge is coming to work anyway. So if you were to add some applications, yeah, then
you'll be able to work on it. Okay.
Yes.
Let me go to the police. ASP Asari, I think I have you now.
Yes, I'm online now.
Yes. So the question was, the part of the recommendation, the ruling here that says that the Inspector General of Police must do this within 6 months. That is to ensure that police prosecutors and investigators are duly sensitized to operationalize this new, if you like, this amendment to the law. And the fact that completion of investigation into a matter for which a person is arrested or detained is not a requirement for processing the person to court under Article 14.3, and accordingly the carrying out of investigation into the case is not a legitimate justification for failure to bring that person before a court within 48 hours of the arrest detention. Essentially saying that the IGP must make sure that the prosecutors are aware of this and they make it part of their plans. They essentially institutionalize it. They put it, they create a system where this is a part of the usual duties. What has the police done on it so far? Next month is when the 6 months ends.
Thank you very much. As I indicated earlier, the police administration welcomed the decision in good faith, and in line with the decision and the directive by the Supreme Court, the Inspector General and the leadership of the police administration took it upon itself, especially through the Director General Liga, who is in charge of all prosecutors nationwide, and when it comes to the crime investigation, to the Director General CID. So the Inspector General then directed this Director Generals who in charge legal and prosecution and that of criminal investigation to come up with a strategy which, effective from the time the decision was given, they roll up, there was a strategy, or there was a training for detectives and as well as prosecutors are also concerned. So I know that nationwide prosecutors have been sensitized in terms of this decision that we're talking about now. Now prosecutors are aware that 48 hours includes Saturday and Sunday, and for that matter, the court is going to sit Saturday and Sundays, which does not require any excuse whatsoever. Again, when it comes to the crime investigators, which comes under the direct control of the Director General CID, he has also, through the detective training school and other regional crime officers, have also educated investigators in that line. So no investigator, as it stands now, has any excuse or has anything to say that he or she is not aware that 48 hours include Saturdays and Sunday. And for that matter, what I can say for now is that the police administration is only waiting for the operationalization of the Saturday and Sunday court. So we are now only waiting for the judicial service, and for that matter, the Chief Justice to come out to say that this court are the court sitting for criminal purposes Saturday and Sunday, and we are ready to meet them.
So the police is ready. We're waiting for the operationalization of same at the level of the courts. Mr. Kwebu, what do you say?
Oh, that's very gratifying to hear, to see the list. It's good to hear that they are doing their best and that they are ready. So it means that we should be happy about it. Yes.
I see. Yes. Okay. Let's see what's next here. It says, in fact, that a person arrested or detained must be brought before court as soon as the minimum paperwork necessary for bringing that person before court under Article 14.3 is completed, without the need to wait for the exhaustion of the 48 hours. The fact that, that's the third one, the fact that the police may so move to release the arrested person conditionally or unconditionally at any time after arrest, even within the 48 hours. I'm assuming that you go for a case, you have a particular case on your hand, and then you go there, to a particular course that you expect to work on a weekend, but they don't work. What happens? What will the police do?
For now, when we get to the state that the courts have been authorized to work over the weekends, and you go there and the court is not working, then it will depend on the nature of the accusation and the surrounding circumstances. So many things go into the releasing of a suspect, because bail, as it were, is a right. But before even the court grants bail, the court takes so many things into consideration to even take into consideration the nature of the accusation, whether or not the accused person is likely to stand trial. All those things will be taken. The same procedure is what the police is going to look at, whether or not the accused person, though the court is not certain this Saturday, what do we do? Is it reasonable under the circumstances to release the accused person to appear in court Monday? If so, then the police will then the authority will decide and release the accused person on bail. But if it requires, or the circumstances and then the nature of the accusation suggests that the accused person should not be released, you realize that even under Article 40, which you indicated right away, said that whether conditionally or unconditionally, we may decide to elect to come under any of those two legs, either conditionally or unconditionally. And even with that, we can still say, okay, today is Saturday or today is Sunday, tomorrow is Monday morning. We need more time to continue or to undertake investigations. And for that matter, it is also the position of the law that if releasing the accused person on bail, for instance, police inquiry bail, it may go a long way to hamper your investigation. Emphasis on this, hamper your investigation. Or if the accused person or the suspect may likely interfere with your witnesses, the law gives the police the discretion that is given to the court to exercise, to weigh the pros and cons. And again, you have to also know that when it comes to the liberty of a suspect, it also is subject to liberty, is subject to public policy and public safety in accordance with Article 12 of our Constitution. So the fact that you have liberty under Article number 14, remember that the public policy issue is also under Article number 12, and that, for that matter, public safety. So before the police take this decision, they will consider all these things. And the catchword in the Constitution under Article number 12 is that subject to public policy. So you should know that the police are going to take public policy, public safety into consideration. So by so doing, they are telling you that the liberty of the accused persons is by one way or the other subject to public policy and public safety, the community interest. All those things will be taken into consideration. And trust me, as law-abiding, as adherents to rule of law, the police will ensure that justice is done, and for that matter, to the accused person, that of the community at large.
So it sounds to me like there's a lot of discretion then placed in the hands of the prosecutors, isn't it?
No discretion placed in the hands of the prosecutors per se, because when it comes to granting of bail at police level, that is not the discretion of the prosecutor comes in, but it's the discretion of the investigative department. Prosecution comes in when the case have to go to court. Then the case have to come to the prosecution desk or the prosecution department for them to study and then prefer the appropriate charges and go to court. But when, assuming the case is within 24 hours, the police still have the discretion to grant bail. Within 48 hours, the police still have the discretion to grant bail. But whether or not the bail should be granted would depend on the nature of the accusation, and again, surrounding circumstances, and again, public interest, public safety. So many things will be taken into consideration. That is why even the police within the 48 hours can still go to court and then lead the court or invite the court to remand the suspect or the accused person into lawful custody to enable us to continue with our investigation.
I see. From my common sense point of view, there still is a lot of discretion for the police. Yes. So you can decide that this person can compromise my investigation, so I'm not going to let them go. Yes. And in that case, will you still count the 24 hours, the 48 hours, the holidays and the weekend, yes, 24 hours?
Yes. Yes. So what he's saying, I think to clarify a bit, what ASP Asare is saying, and he's a lawyer as well. What he's saying, he is divided the police service, I mean, at least for the purpose of the comment he made, investigative department and then prosecutions.
Yeah.
But I think your question was directed to the whole police service
yes,
as an institution.
As far as my common sense
yes,
me.
so it's still the same police. So ASP Council, what we are saying is that the discretion still lies with the police. Whether, but you are specifying that in this case is the investigative department that determines whether to grant a bail or not. Yes, but at the end of the day, the discretion is still with the police because the investigators are also policemen. Is that also?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what the law is saying is that the decision, the one who has to call the shots, the one who has to decide whether somebody should stay in custody beyond 48 hours is a judge.
Yeah.
A judge of a competent court of jurisdiction. You see, so depending on the offense, it may go to the district court, circuit court, or high court. Okay. So the Constitution envisages a situation where if the police don't want to release him, it's good you even read that instructive part. You've done a good job at it. The CJ said, don't wait till the 48 hours is up before you send the person to court, because the law says within. So it means that if by the 6th hour it's already clear to you that you don't want to grant this person bail because you think he will hamper investigations, okay, prepare his docket, put him before the court, present your argument, then the defense, that's the suspect or accused person, and his lawyer will also present their own arguments to the court.
Yeah.
Then the judge will look at both and decide. So ultimately, the decision to keep somebody beyond 48 hours belongs to a judge, and it depends on the offense that will choose which particular judge. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the whole point.
Ah, wow. Mrs. ASP Asari, they.
Hello.
I don't know whether the plans you have to institutionalize this at the police level has any systems that will avoid or prevent the abuse of this amount of discretion which we see in this scenario.
I don't think there's any challenge in terms of when it comes to the police, because even though we've not the system for that matter, the judicial service or the Chief Justice has not operationalized the 6 months will come to play maybe somewhere next month. We are still even working, even despite the challenges. I don't know whether you are aware, but my learned colleague there is aware of what we call electronic even allocation, okay, of criminal matters and both civil matters. Now, for some years now, there's a system called electronic allocation of cases. Now, all these things must happen within 48 hours. What then is the electronic allocation of cases? Hitherto, when you finish your case, you just carry the docket, go to the registrar assign you to a particular judge, depending on the nature of the offense. If it's a circuit, you go to circuit court judge. If it's district, go to district court judge. If it's high court, you go to the high court registrar to assign the case. But now the system is that when you finish, for the Chief Justice to be able to control certain things in the judicial play, there's this electronic allocation system. When you finish, you send your docket to the registrar's office. The registrar will then register the docket, then send it to allocation, where it will go back to the Chief Justice Secretariat for the case docket to be allocated to a particular court. And I'm telling you that at times it even takes a day or two for one particular case to be allocated. So we are all working within these 48 hours. So if the court is going to work Saturdays, we are ready. As I indicated to you, the leadership of the police administration has done that already and has sensitized the men, both prosecution and investigated. We are ready, even to the extent that we even take dockets to court within 24 hours for it to be allocated. And taking into consideration that the allocation alone may take minimum of a day. So if minimum of a day, we then entered, assuming you went to the court within the 48 hours, then the allocation, add the allocation minimum of a day to it. You're talking about 72 hours. That 24 hours is not within the domain within the domain of the police. By then, the docket have left police custody into the judicial custody. So now it's within the judiciary to come back and tell the police that, yes, your case docket number 1 has been referred or allocated to court number 2. Then immediately you move the accused person or the suspect to the court. So even at this challenge, with all this challenge, we're still playing within those challenges. So we are only waiting that we believe then when the Chief Justice operationalized this weekend's court, we believe that this allocation system will also be looking at, because once we carried our docket within the 48 hours, we are straight to the court and to do court business, subject to other challenges that may come up. But for now, I don't think the police one has any system, has put anything in place to frustrate this 48-hour, which includes weekends and whatever. No, what I know for now and for sure is that the leadership of the administration has put in place. There has been training has gone on both for prosecutors and for investigators, and they are ready. As I tell, even if we say we are beginning tomorrow, we are more than ready.
Wow.
Okay, you say wow.
Yeah, Council, you've done well. I mean, if once the police service are ready, I mean, we should be happy about it, because it's for all of us. Because sometimes, you know, we think that we are kind of protected from the abuses, but you can never tell when it may just get you.
When it gets to your turn. Well, I've been asking you to share with me your experiences. If you have any questions, like Pebu is here as well to answer. We do have the police legal representative, I should say, also here, if you have any concerns. But we had billed to speak to the Deputy Attorney General, Mr. Pumka. Unfortunately, my producers are unable to reach him as we started the conversation. Maybe he's gotten involved in something and he couldn't leave. We don't know, but we had spoken to him and we're able to have him, because there are parts of this provision that we need to hear from the Attorney General's department on. I mean, they have to operationalize this in the first place, right? Yes, because the work the police are doing, they're actually doing it on behalf of the Attorney General. I mean, they're prosecuting the cases because it's the Attorney General's duty, but the Attorney General doesn't have enough lawyers, so they've ceded some of the work to the police to prosecute. So we're unable to have him at the moment. But ASP, if I can come back to you, in the program that you have, or the strategies that you have, you say you are ready. Is there a sort of sanction regime to make sure that officers who go contrary to what the law says are detected and punished duly, so that it serves as a deterrent?
Thank you very much, my sister. Let me put it on record that there is a sanction regime, not merely because of this judgment, but that regime has been there since Adam. Because the issue is that when you are tasked to undertake a particular task, whether or not you are a prosecutor or you are an investigator, you are required by the regulations of the service, and you are also mindful that you are guided by the Constitution of this country to make sure you discharge your duties in accordance with law. So no police officer, you cannot say that an accused person is due for court Saturday, and for that matter, I'm going for funeral, so I was unable to go to the court because I had a funeral. That excuse will not be tolerated. There is a clear sanction for it. It's a clear absence from duty, and there's a sanction for it, and there's a serious regime in place for that. So and officers are aware, they are aware that Saturday and Sunday, as I indicated earlier, everybody is aware, every service person is aware that Saturdays and Sunday, included in the 48 hours. So if it has to do with you going to court, if it has to do you going to give evidence on Sunday, you cannot say that I went to church, so I was unable to go to court to testify. That would be impossible. And the administration, and I know the leadership of the service, the Inspector General and his men, will not pardon you, because there is a regime over there.
Okay. Mr. Kwaku, do you have any thoughts on the back of all that he has said so far?
Yes, on the matter of the allocation, that yes, currently sometimes you send a docket. So you see, the police come from their offices, that's the prosecution unit, with a docket. Then it has to be registered in a way, and then a court assigned. So you see, that process is now been subjected to what we call electronic allocation. That's why complaints sometimes takes 2 days or more. Obviously, in order to adhere to the Supreme Court ruling, it will require that either the electronic allocation is done especially for the dockets that the police will bring, or maybe they will make an exception and do a manual allocation for these Saturday and Sunday courts. Yes. But
in the case where some of these things come up, these allocation issues and all of that come up, it means that we will still have people spending more hours in the custody of the police.
You are right. So I'm envisaging that, look, to avoid it, maybe they'll just do a manual one. At least these cases, we don't expect them to be so many that they will overwhelm this in a few personnel. Because if we are not careful and the allocation rather eats up the 48 hours, it will look, it will look ridiculous.
It will defeat the purpose.
That is the word. Defeat is more straight to the point.
I'll take your final comment. AU Farouk from Tamale says, congratulations to lawyer Martin Kpebu for testing the law. The unfortunate problem for me is that when we are doing the Zoom, we can't put the number on, so some of you may not have seen the number. Let's see if I can do the few that I have at the moment, because we've already run out of time. We need to call it a wrap. Okay, I saw a question. Right. This one is not a question, it's more like a comment. He says, these are the type of positive and proactive lawyers that this country needs. I salute you. Please continue the good works. Please, may I know why sometimes people just accuse someone without any evidence and the police end up putting him or her in cells only to realize and release him after the ordeal? Hamza is asking from Tamale. ASP, can you help us with this?
Very well, my sister. Depending on what Hamza referred to as without any reasonable grounds, you know, it's an allegation as it stands. Any case that's reported to the police is an allegation, and the police must then receive this an allegation and commence investigation into it. But without cross investigation into this matter, you wouldn't know the merit and the demerit of the whole allegation. And every caller is potential ally. You need to ensure that every complaint that comes to your doorstep, as a law enforcement officer, you've been paid by the taxpayer to make sure that you investigate and you do your work diligently. So once the case comes to the doorsteps of the police, it is the duty of the police to investigate. Maybe you standing afar, you may have information to that particular issue, which the officers initially may not have that, may not be privy to that particular information. So you may see the case differently from the point of view that the police is seeing.
So why don't you explain to the people? Because sometimes all it takes is this explanation for them to understand.
Exactly. The explanation is where you have to, when you are an actual party in the matter, the police will then explain the procedures and the system for you to appreciate it. But if you are not a party in the matter, maybe you are sitting in your house and you are just taking a feedback from a brother or from a colleague or from a friend who has been to the police station there, the person may misconstrue whatever that is happening at the police station to you. So you may have your own perception, which may be incorrect. But the issue is that investigation must be conducted. That is why the Constitution says that within 48 hours, the police has a discretion to release the person on bail if they realize that the grounds for which or the allegation for which they are investigating requires that the person can be on bail whilst they go on with the investigation. They will release you on bail. There's no way police will not keep you unduly in cells when there's a mere allegation without any iota of they will never keep you.
I see.
So if they have such a challenge, I will urge such Hamza and whoever has such a challenge to just call on the police station, most of especially the senior police officers there, just bring the issue to their attention, and then I trust with the right move with that.
Okay. How about we find some time and create the platform for people to ask some of these questions for the police to answer, as part of building public confidence in the police as well. Maybe subsequently from next week we can have a conversation like that.
Yeah, that's.
You are welcome.
Okay, so the people have seen you. They've seen your promise. So when we come and we say we called him, he didn't pick up. they'll know that you feel them. So we'll come to that. But thank you very much. And I said that because there's a question I don't think we can go in because I've run out of time. I need to wrap up. He says there are many districts without courts in Ghana. What is the Chief Justice doing to make justice delivery accessible to all? These questions we can hopefully create the space on this show as we go along. Then we can answer them. Martin, let me take your final thoughts and we wrap up.
So maybe final comment. You know, this whole case started because of the abuse. So let's add that, look, it's a fact that some police were abusing the rights of citizens. Look, I have a lot of work to do. Nobody pays me for this work. So if I have so much work to do, there's no reason for me to go chasing cases that don't solve societal problems. So, and that, for the Chief Justice to choose this as a valedictory judgment, please, it tells you that a lot of water is passed under the bridge. It was such a big problem. You see the one who asked. Big men were abusing it. They said, we'll show you where power lies. On a Friday afternoon, when they pick you, somebody owes another. It's a civil matter. Then they go and see the police and turn the police into debt collectors. On a Friday afternoon, then the police take the person into custody and all that. No, it was such a big problem. So let's face it. That's why the Chief, don't forget, the Chief Justice, she retired because she's 70, right? It tells us that these are people who are older than us. They've seen the law being abused by the police. That's how we solved it. So it's not good for us to deny everything and make it look like the police are perfect. No, they are there to protect us. We'll support them. But when they go wrong, we expect that certain things be done to correct, like what the Supreme Court has done. Okay.
ASP Sylvester, sorry, I say a very big thanks to you for joining us for this conversation. It's been very insightful. I have a lot of questions here. Hopefully next week we can create a platform, like I said. ASP Sylvester Sari is the legal, he's in charge of legal and prosecution with the CID for the police, and Martin Pebo himself here is a man who took the case to court. He won it, and he's been doing a lot of pro bono work as well as far as social, I almost said social distance, as far as human rights are concerned. And thank you for sending in your messages. Sorry that you couldn't send them earlier because we didn't put the number there earlier for you. We'll get to it next week. I'm going to take a very quick break. When I return, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta is in Parliament. He wants to borrow 10 billion cedis from the Bank of Ghana. Why? We'll get to know. Do stay with us.